Routines are boring. Okay, there's nothing sexy about a routine. However, there are certain routines that are very, very effective. As boring as they are, as unsexy as they do work, particularly when you're trying to lose weight. So I thought in this video, I would kind of share with you what was my top tips, if you want to call it, or routine that I did that helped me lose 70 pounds in 7 months all the way back in 2018. These are probably my top tips that not only helped me lose that 70 pounds, but I know it'll help you too. And the reason for this is because I've coached hundreds of men from all over the world to lose at least 40 pounds in 16 weeks using some of these top tips that I'm going to be sharing with you, okay? And some of these tips are found in my Keto Shed 40 coaching program. If you want more info on that, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description of this video. It'll take you to another video that kind of explains a little bit more in detail as to how I could potentially help you, okay? So let's just break this down. This is gonna be very simple. And by the end of this video, I'm gonna give you a perfect formula that you can use, that the majority of the people can use to really see progress as far as you being on your weight loss journey, okay? So let's start with the very first thing. Now, obviously, I'd wake up, go to the bathroom. I mean, that's pretty typical for most people. But what I would do is I would immediately go to the scale. Now, I know some people get a little too tied to the scale, okay? Well, I use the scale as one of my tools to measure progress. It's not the only tool, but it's a pretty big one. So that would be the very first thing. I'd go to the bathroom, I would go downstairs, and I would immediately weigh myself. No clothes on, just my underwear. And the reason why I did this every single day, okay, I did this every single day during the 7 months. I wanted to get a gauge as to, did I do what was necessary to lose weight the day before? So I wanted to see hey, did I mess up? Or am I moving in the right direction? That's really what you could use the scale for. So I would step on the scale, I would take progress, and I would do this every single day to make sure, hey, am I moving in the right direction or am I moving the wrong direction? Plus, when you weigh yourself every day, first thing in the morning, it kind of gives you an opportunity to make some course correction. If you happen to notice the scale keeps bumping up, you can kind of make some changes before it gets too far away from you. So after I weighed myself, I would have a big glass of water. Okay, I know it's simple, there's nothing sexy about water, but you gotta remember, you've been sleeping all night, you're fasting, so your body really does need water. Now, I know some people are coffee drinkers. Me personally, I don't like coffee, so I started my morning with water, but after I had my water, because I wanted to make sure I was hydrated first, I would get some type of caffeine. But like I just said, I did not drink coffee. Now, I know being me, a keto guy, a lot of people like their bulletproof coffee. If you're not familiar with bulletproof coffee, it's just black coffee with no sugar, no cream, and you put some butter in there and MCT oil. That's pretty much it, all right? Now me, I actually pulled one of these out. I like to drink Ghost, okay? So this only has 10 calories. It's got the caffeine I need. There's no sugar in it. So this was pretty much like my coffee. So I would start with that. Now, right after that, I would do a little bit of reading, and then I would go and take a 30-minute walk. And the reason why I took this 30-minute walk is because I want to get my body moving, okay? I want to get my steps in, I want to become mobile, I want to get my body pretty much primed to go to the gym. That was the third thing that I did is I basically took my morning walks. Number one, I'd weigh myself every day. Number two, I would make sure to hydrate myself. Number three, get some type of caffeine in there. And what I also found, what's cool about caffeine and anything that's carbonated, is you kind of feel full. It actually fills you up. And I think that the caffeine, and plus, with this being carbonated, I think this is what really helped me train fasted. So that would be tip number 4 was my strength training. Okay, so this is something I did where after I dropped my kids off from school, I would get in the gym probably around 10 a.m., so maybe just before 10 a.m. And I did a very specific workout routine. I would work out 5 days a week, strength training, and I would do what's called a push-pull leg. That was one option that I would do, or I would do what's called a full body workout. Now, let me explain. Push-pull leg is pretty self-explanatory. One day you're doing all your pushing movements. You're doing like your bench press, your shoulder press, those kind of things, all your pushing movements. And then the pulling is all like, your back, you're doing your back rows. You're doing your, let's see, what else? Well, triceps is pushing as well. Pulling like pull-ups, rows, bicep curls, you're pulling the weight. So those kind of exercises. And then on the other day, I would do just nothing but legs. But another routine I adopted that works very well is what's called full body. So basically, I'm training each muscle group pretty much every day within the week. So what I found is that my body tends to respond better, and maybe it does for you too, is that if I hit that muscle group pretty much every day, but you're doing different exercises. So for example, let's say, on Monday I did squats. Well, on Tuesday, maybe I would do leg extension. And on Wednesday, I would do some type of lunge. So I'm always working the quads, but I'm just doing different exercises. So I would do this for every muscle group. And I felt like it really helped me better, and I was more symmetrical. And I felt like I could stimulate each muscle group in my body better than waiting a whole week. There's that whole bodybuilding split where, or actually called the bro split, where people would do like, their chest on Monday and then they wouldn't train chest again until the following Monday. Well, you've had 6 days go by. Okay. So why not train that muscle more frequently? I felt like that gets you a much better result. Now, if you've noticed with these 4 tips I've already given you, I've mentioned nothing about food. Okay. So food hasn't even come into the equation yet. But as we go into tip number 5, what I would do is I would come back home from the gym and I would wait at least a couple hours. So let's say I train from 10 to 11. By 1 p.m., I would have my very first meal. Now, what did I have in that meal? Well, I'm a keto coach, so obviously I was doing a keto type diet. So no carbohydrates. A staple in my diet was eggs. It was always eggs, some type of meat on the side, whether it was sausage, bacon, maybe some ground beef. You've seen some of my videos where I'm still eating like that today. So virtually no carbohydrates, all right? So strictly keto, basically 75% of my calories came from fat, 20% of my calories came from protein, and 5% of my calories came from carbohydrates, which was basically vegetables. So that was at 1 p.m. Now, after 1 p.m., I've kind of had some time in between to, maybe be productive, do some things during my day. And then we get into the next tip where I would actually have my second meal. But before I got to my second meal, let me just explain that between that first and second meal, no snacking. So that's a tip that I personally adopted, is that I didn't want to do any snacking. Any food that I ate was strictly in that one meal. And then I would wait to go to my second meal. So to recap, first meal is at 1 p.m., no snacking. And then by 5 p.m., I would have my second keto meal. So if you've noticed, this is what's called the 20 and the 4. So I was fasting for 20 hours and I would eat in a very short eating window, basically in a 4-hour eating window, because the hours between 1 and 5, that was my eating window. So fasting for 20 hours, and then only eating in a 4-hour eating window. Now, those are basically all my tips. I know that doesn't sound like, this amazing thing, but I'm telling you, if you do this routine every single day, it's gonna work, okay? So like I said, I woke up in the morning, I weighed myself every single morning, then I drank water, I got some caffeine in, all right, to kind of blunt the hunger, and then I would go on my 30-minute walk. Come home, take the kids to school, do strength training, which was basically a full body workout. Then I would come home, wait 2 hours, 1 p.m., my first keto meal, no snacking in between. Then I would get to 5 p.m., that would be my second keto meal. That's basically the routine that I did to lose 70 pounds in 7 months. It was really that simple, all right? Now, I want to give you a formula that you can use that's added to all these tips that I just gave you. Because you may be wondering, like, okay, it's pretty general, that's pretty vague, like, doesn't calories play a role and this and that? Didn't you track things? So I did do that, okay? So I did track my calories, all right? So what I did for me and what works for pretty much the majority of the population is a real simple formula. If you want to know how many calories you need to eat every single day, or basically what you're allowed to eat in order to lose weight, simple formula. Just take your body weight, multiply that in pounds, so not kilograms, this is in pounds, by 10. So let's say you're 200 pounds. Multiply by 10, well, you get to eat 2,000 calories and you're gonna lose weight. Now, I had someone in the comments recently say, hey, I'm only 90 pounds. Does that mean I eat 900 calories? I'm like, look, if you're 90 pounds, you don't need to lose any more weight. So let me just be clear on that, right? A good rule of thumb is don't fall below 1,200 calories. Do not fall below 1,200 calories unless you're doing what's called burst fasting or blast fasting. I mentioned that in my video yesterday where I talk about you do these short bouts of severe calorie restriction where you're only eating like 500 calories for like 3 days and then you eat normally the other 4 days within that 7-day period. That's totally separate, all right? Make sure to go watch that video. I kind of explain more in detail as to how to do blast fasting. Again, these are short bouts of severe calorie restriction. But if you're gonna eat 900 calories every single day for weeks and months, you're gonna plateau, you're going to back yourself up in a corner, and eventually you're gonna have to eat more than that somewhere down the road, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna regain all that weight back. So don't be eating 900 calories, okay? But like I said, blast fasting, you could do 500 calories for 3 days and then just eat normal the other 4 days within that week. That's totally separate and different. That's basically it, guys. That's how I lost 70 pounds in 7 months. So if you notice, I had no carbs, no sugars. I kept to a keto diet. I applied the 20 and the 4 intermittent fasting. I did strength training to build muscle. You gotta build muscle because the more muscle you have, the more calories you're gonna burn at rest. Get in the gym. Do some type of mobile exercises to build some muscle, all right? And then I just drank water throughout the day. The only caffeine I had was this one caffeine drink. That's it. And then periodically I'd have like a Coke Zero or something like that because I found that the carbonation in Coke Zero and these energy drinks kept me fuller, so that way I wasn't like, snacking in between my meals. So I just wanted to share with you, that was what I did to lose 70 pounds in 7 months. Very simple. Try it for yourself. And I'm telling you, you'll be amazed as to how much weight you'll lose at a pretty rapid rate. All right. So make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and always hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I'll see you then.